Welcome to the fun and mentals of real estate. Hey, I got a question. There's a question of the day.
Yes.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, how much research do you do before you make a major purchase? Okay, that's my question of the day. So, Angela Dillmon here with Keller Williams Realty Chesterfield here in St. Louis, Missouri. And here's my wealth building partner,
Glen Calvin, Guild Mortgage in Chesterfield, Missouri. And the question, I would answer that, if you were asking me personally, it would be 0.
Oh.
But if you're asking the husband and wife team of Glen and Lori Calvin, Lori is the one that does the research.
Okay,
She's going to put in a lot of time. She's going to make sure
how
I rely
long?
on her.
How much? How much research is
Hours. And the bigger the purchase, the more time she's going to put into it.
Okay, so statistically online, surveys say people do about 79 days at least worth of research before they make a major purchase.
That's interesting.
Say, my husband's a researcher. I don't have to research either. I just say, hey, I'm going to go buy something. Will you go research it, please?
Yes.
So the online research is really a big thing. Hopefully this is helping with your online research, because today's topic and your second question of the day is, what type of homes are the best investment? I get this all the time. I want to make a good investment. So is there one type of home that's a better investment than another?
Interesting. And I guess there's all different types of houses.
All different types of houses. So, and it's more than just a house. So let's go through the different types of houses.
Okay. Now, we're not going to have a TP, igloo, earth home, trailer. No, we're just talking about regular houses.
All right. So we'll start off with your single family home.
Yes.
So you got your single family homes, and they are?
You got 2-story.
Yep.
Ranch.
There's
the atrium ranch.
Ranch.
What were the old-fashioned ones in the 70s? Split level.
There's a split
Remember those?
levels?
I lived in one of those. You go in and it's down to the basement.
There's
up
also
to
tri-levels.
Tri-level, yeah.
Or multi-levels.
Right.
It's also a different type of home. Then you've got your condos.
Yeah. Townhouses.
Villas.
Yeah, villas.
Apartment style, which are, more known as condos, where there's a lot in one building. And then you've got your... and then you move into what we talked about last week, which is mobiles, manufactured homes, lots of different types of homes. So this is simply a supply and demand, right? So
it's probably a little lifestyle too.
That plays into the supply and demand thing, right? And so if your demand is huge, right, for your product, you're going to get more money for it. It's just that simple. All right, so let's just talk about ranches versus 2-story. This is a really common question. So I got a ranch, 2,000 square foot ranch, and I've got a 2,000 square foot 2-story. What's a better investment? All right.
Guess the ranch, because there's probably more people.
There's more people, right, in the buyer pool on a ranch. Why is that? Well, because first-time home buyers and upsizers both are in the buyer pool. Right. But your bonus is the downsizers is in the buyer pool.
Not to have to deal with the steps.
Don't have to deal with the steps. Very common reason why people move when they get older is stairs. I have a ranch. My last house was a story and a half, main floor and master, because I wanted longevity in the house. Right? So you have all the buyer pools that you could possibly imagine are in the ranch. Even people who consider condos will consider a ranch. Why? One level living. Okay? Mm-hmm. So now ranches are more expensive to build. So I got a 2,000 square foot ranch, I got a 2,000 square foot basement.
Right. And
I got to cover that roof over 2,000 square feet.
Right.
Now, in a 2-story, they're so popular. Why are they popular? They're very
cheaper.
They're more bang for the buck for square foot. Why? Because I have a 2,000 square foot 2-story. I got a 1,000 square foot basement. Right. And now my roof only has to cover 1,000 square feet. All right, so they're cheaper to build.
I got a 2-story myself, and I like the view.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Yeah.
All right, so the 2-story then it becomes the next most popular because young families like them, right? And people who like the views. There are people who love 2-stories or story and a halves. The story and a half just means that my first floor is bigger than my second floor. All right, and usually my master is on the first floor in a story and a half. Right. Okay, that's what it usually means. And people are like, oh, I can live in it like a ranch, and then when my grandkids come over, they can go upstairs instead of going downstairs. Right. But a ranch with a finished basement is even more popular now. Okay, now the next one is multi-levels and split levels. So split levels, you come in, and then you have to go up shop.
I lived in one when I was a kid, right? Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, you're at a landing or down steps.
All right, so actually, what's a little more popular is the multi-level, because multi-levels, you typically walk into the first floor. You don't walk into a platform and then make a decision. You walk into your first floor with your living room and your kitchen. Then off to the side is a small half set of stairs up to the bedrooms, and then half set of stairs down to the finish. So it kind of looks like a 2-story on the right, and it looks like a ranch on the left. And you're like, what is that? That's a multi-level. Now, those can be even 4 levels, and you can go down again underneath the ranch part to another basement. So they can look very different. But they're the next most popular because you walk into the main living area without having to do stairs right away. And then you go to your split foyer. Now, there are also homes that don't have basements. Right? So when you get an appraisal in Glen, I'm sure that the appraiser takes into consideration whether it's a multi. Is he gonna compare a multi-family or even a split to a 2-story or a ranch?
Really, we probably need to do a whole podcast on appraisals. Mm-hmm. But just for this purposes of this, the value of that home, what's the better investment? Of course, the appraiser is gonna notice that. He's gonna want to compare it to houses that are similar. Yeah. So when we start getting into the multi-level, it's probably not as much stuff to compare it to. He's also going to look at a lot of stuff that we haven't touched on yet. Is it on a busy street? What's the backyard look like? Is it straight down a hill? Is it a nice big backyard?
So is that appraiser going to take it into consideration if I'm buying a home on a busy street versus on a quiet street?
It's definitely going to be a consideration.
All right, so there you go. So when you're talking about what the best home is for investment, after the splits and the multis, and then you get into mobile and manufacturer being above a mobile home in value in people's minds, then we come into what is going on with the yard, what's going on with the street in front of it. Is it in a really super popular school district, things like that. But when you have a yellow dotted line down near street in front of your house, it's going to be worth less than the private cul-de-sac. I'm just saying, right? Yeah. Again, this is a supply
and that's going to be
demand.
a better investment if you're buying a house on a private, whether you're buying
because
one
your
on
buyer
a street
pool
that's busier.
is simply bigger. Okay, what about my house if it has a hill for a yard, up or down? So I would say the downhill ones are probably better than the ones that go up. The ones that go up have nice private views. Those because you're not really staring at somebody else's yard. However, you kind of get concerned about the water that runs down them, right? So your water path is really a big deal for your buyer pool. People scared of water, they're scared of your house, right? And so the type of yard that it is, the type of street that it's on is also a big thing. And if there's, in St. Louis, we've been around a long time. We got houses that are over 100 years old now. When I first started selling, they were like 80, and I'm like, oh my God, they're like 110 years old now.
Bring up the houses in the city that have the rock foundations that settle over time.
Yeah. Okay. So here's the deal. Here's the deal on those. Because we have such age of homes so old, there's a lot of additions. Yeah. Wow, especially South County, a ton of additions. Now, some people do the addition, and you're like, I walked through a bedroom to get through the other part of the addition.
I was in a house like
probably
that.
Probably not as valuable, right? So sometimes people just add on, and they just add on a beautiful family room. But sometimes people add on, and you're like, this is the funkiest floor plan I have ever seen. Now, does an appraiser take that into consideration when I have an addition and it takes a couple of jogs to get back there, or I have to walk through a bedroom? He's probably going to even discount the bedroom. Might not even call it a bedroom, just because, boom, it's a walkthrough, right? So your additions are really a big deal too when you're trying to make the best investment on a home. So I guess you've seen a lot of additions that are bad on some of the appraisals. Yeah. You're like, wow.
Yeah, and then you've seen some that are really nice. It's all it's just about doing your research.
Yep.
And I think the point is that we've got normal, ranch, 2-story, split level, atrium. As soon as we start moving out from normal, that shrinks the buyer pool, and that's going to affect the investment. And it doesn't mean, when we talk about lifestyle, it doesn't mean it couldn't be right for you.
Right.
And it couldn't fit your needs. Right. And we're dealing with this crazy in April of 2024, because I think this podcast is going forever. We're dealing with a huge shortage of inventory.
Right.
So maybe you have to make some concessions, because we always talk about just getting in the game.
Right, getting in the game. Right now, you can sell houses that have, on busy streets, they have yards that are, tough to deal with, or a slab. If you have a slab or a crawl space, you're not going to be worth as much, and the appraiser's not going to comp you out to a house that has a basement. but they're selling very well right now because very low supply. But you get back into the buyer's markets, then they don't sell very well at all. So they're not as good of an investment at all when you're talking slabs and crawl spaces. So watch out for when you are buying a house that had it as an addition. Make sure it's been piered, make sure the footings, all the things, but just make sure that it was done in a way that makes sense and it flows. Okay, otherwise it's going to hurt you on the investment side. There's no doubt about it.
You're just decreasing the amount of people that would be interested in buying it when you're ready to sell it.
Right.
Yeah.
So atrium ranches just have the big stairs and 2 stories of windows out the back. Always have all the buyer pools in them. Then you move to 2 stories. Then you move to your multis. Then you move to other things, right? And then 4 families, 2 families are just for people who really want investment property or really want someone else to help make their payment. Yeah. So there you go.
Do your research.
That's it. Hopefully this helped you with your research, and you want it to go 2.5 months. Just give us a call at 314-277-7713. Download our free HomeBot app.
Yeah, that's great. And you can download a link to watch the old podcast, too.
Okay, there you go.
And you can reach me at 314-249-6861.
All right, and we'll see you next week. Would you like to know how much cash is in your home? Would you like to know what that cash could do for you? Would you like to figure out how to pay off your home faster? Would you like to set up a private search where no one will try to bug you or sell you anything when you're searching for another home? I got an app for that. The wealth building app for your home. HomeBot. It's free. Click here.